One final bike trip. That's right. One final bike trip for this bike, and we are retiring the Dyna Lowrider S from the long miles. Alright, what's going on YouTube? FXDLS Brooklyn is back in the building. So as you can see, the sun is rising. We're out here at some random rest stop out in New Jersey. We just actually linked up with Old Man Armstrong. So speaking of Dynas, we got Old Man Armstrong in the building.
What's going on?
How you doing?
Good, how you doing?
And yeah, he's got his 1999 FXDX, and yeah, man. Yeah, you know, so two Dynas and one Ultra Classic. Thunderheader is looking real shiny, and we're gonna keep it moving. Got a little golding, that's nice.
Yeah.
Alright, man, let's get some miles, brother. We got the road captain, getting a little antsy, ready to gas up. And we got the old Dyna. You know it, you love it. White Flame, Great White, FXDLS. So the reason why I chose this is because I originally built this bike and completely redid the motor, turned it into the hot rod build, did the paint and everything. And my original goal before I was introduced to the Lowrider SD, this is actually before the SD was even in existence, but my original goal with this bike was to build it over the top and then destroy it through the bike trips and just continue to use it for the purpose that I've always used it for, which is continue to go cross country, continue to push it to do the bike trips, even though it had a flashy paint job, even though I did the motor work and to do that. Fast forward to the release date of the Lowrider SD, and then Harley Davidson sending one to me to be introduced to it, and then you all know the story. I fell in love with the Lowrider ST. It was the obvious choice in terms of doing long miles. They dropped it in a paint scheme that I really liked, and I became a Lowrider ST owner. FXLR ST Brooklyn. So the reason why I'm taking my Dyna on this trip is because I wanted to give the Dyna one last hurrah. I had been through so much with this bike since 2016, and I don't know, I felt like I needed just one last hurrah with this bike before I officially retire the bike from doing long bike trips. So the bike trip that we're doing this year, it's not like mileage wise, it's lower miles than what we usually do. You know, we're usually doing cross country, and we're usually at the end of our bike trip accumulating somewhere north of 6,000 miles. For this one, this particular bike trip, the plan is to hit the Tail of the Dragon, and then from there shoot up north to the 120th anniversary of Harley Davidson. Of course, leave it to New Jersey, the only state that can't trust you to fill up your own gas tank. Amazing. Let me not start talking trash about New Jersey in this video. I got friends from here. Alright, shout out to the road captain for the tank of gas. Yeah, so I wanted to give this bike one last hurrah, one last road trip, and you know, I think by the end of the day of this particular trip of dipping down south, going up and down, shooting, you know, moving around, we'll probably accumulate somewhere north of 3,000 miles, which again is much lighter compared to what we usually do. So I figured if I was going to do one last trip to retire this bike, this would be a good one, just in terms of doing something that's a little bit lower mileage. Now, in terms of the challenges are going to be running this hot rod motor in a heat wave. You know, we're riding into a heat wave, not just any heat wave, but a southern heat wave. So we are going to be running this bike through extreme temperatures, and you know, Harley Davidsons in general do not like extreme heat. A 124 hot rod build definitely does not like extreme heat. So definitely going to be running the bike through some extreme temperatures, and the mileage will be lower, but it's still going to be a test to see whether this bike can still handle the bike trips with how extreme I've gone with the build. And you know, I've been doing so many ST miles lately that I hop on this Dyna and I'm like, man, why does it feel like everything is loose? And it's like, you know, the ST is just such a tight ride, it's such a smooth ride that, you know, I get onto the Dyna after putting down so many ST miles and I'm like, all I'm gonna say is I feel like after putting so many ST miles in this summer, I feel like I trust the Dyna less than I did before I had experienced the ST and just the tightness and the smoothness of that bike. So I feel like I trust this bike a little bit less than I used to before that. But however, I know the work that I put into this bike over the last 7+ years, and these miles and these bike trips is what I built this bike to do. So it is very much in its elements in this type of riding, and I'm looking forward to just letting it go out with a bang, letting it go out properly, and, you know, it's like they say, it's better to burn out than to fade away. This bike will never fade away. You know, when I say I'm retiring it, I'm just retiring it from doing long bike trips. That's where I am going to be primarily using the Lowrider ST for trips like this going forward. This bike will still be ripping around the tri-state area. It'll still probably be quote-unquote my main bike, assuming I'm not on the road. But I'm just not going to be, you know, stacking the heavy miles anymore on this bike as it hits 60,000 miles and as it does have the hot rod build and the paint job and all that. So one final bike trip to play it out properly. That's why, you know, if you're surprised that I'm not on the ST, that's why I'm not on the ST. I wanted to just give this bike one last hurrah, one proper bike trip before it goes into its elder years of staying on the East Coast where it belongs. And what I'll say is, it's bittersweet. I have so many amazing memories of this bike. This bike has done so much for me, has successfully got me across the country through international borders multiple times in all types of crazy weather and circumstances. So I'm proud of this bike. You know, I absolutely love this bike. This bike will always be a part of me, even if I'm not doing the bike trips on it anymore. Obviously, I will never sell this bike. This is my forever bike. And I'm looking at this trip with this bike as a celebration of all the prior trips that we've done, of how far this bike has come, and of all the memories we will make with this bike going forward, even if they're not on the long road. So that's why you're not seeing me on the ST on this trip. That's why I'm on my Dyna, if you were surprised by that. And yeah, it's just good to be back on the road again, you know, with the old man, with old man Armstrong. This is my first long, you know, it's always good to do a bike trip with him. You know, we're going to be linking up with the Man in Black at some point. In true Man in Black fashion, he'll be catching up with us some point along the road, maybe tomorrow. And yeah, stay tuned of what we got going on with this bike trip. Day number 1 on the Dyna. Stay safe and stay low, whether you're doing it on a Lowrider ST or a Dyna. Do the bike trips. And on that, FXDLS Brooklyn is out.